people often shy away from discussing about finances, and especially when they need to discuss it the most, when they might need help or advice. Today, we've got Andrew Sykes from Noah's Ark Centre in Halifax and Lisa Connolly from the Halifax Opportunities Trust to open up discussion about debt, knowing your rights, and how you can find help. Hi guys, how are you doing?
Hi.
Morning. Pretty good, thank you.
Good. So, Lisa, can you tell us a bit about what Hopeful Families are and what they do?
Yeah, of course. So Hopeful Families is funded by the National Lottery Community Fund and the European Social Fund jointly. And it aims to help people with their life goals. So that could be finding a job, starting further education, or just looking at next steps, really. And the trust in itself exists as a charity to help alleviate poverty.
Fantastic. Andrew, can you tell us a bit about what Noah's Ark do and what work you do to help people?
So Noah's Ark is a mental health charity based up in Halifax, West Yorkshire. 2021 is our 20th year in existence. We principally provide counselling and psychotherapy for children, young people and adults. But 10 years ago, recognising the link between problem debt and poor mental health, we started offering debt advice. Similar to Lisa, we're actually funded, our debt advice project is funded by the National Lottery Community Fund. And just to give you, I suppose, a bit of heads up about some statistics for us, in 2019, our debt advice service received around 600 referrals. Most of our referrals are complex and chaotic. We specialise in insolvency, and in particular something called the debt relief order. We've had quite a lot of success in that area and we're quite proud of our activity. In the last 4 years, we've submitted and completed around 750 debt relief orders. And in 2019, of the 27,000 debt relief orders completed nationally, we arranged 269 of them, which is 1% of all the debt relief orders in the whole of the United Kingdom. And we did it all from an 8-foot by 8-foot office in the back of an old pub in one of the most deprived areas of the United Kingdom. So it's a bit of
incredible work. Lisa, how does Hopeful Families, Halifax Opportunities Trust and Noah's Ark all work together?
Yeah, so we work in partnership with Noah's Ark, and basically what happens is somebody comes to us for support. So they might be, as I mentioned before, looking for a job. But one of the things that we do is we sit down with people and we have a chat with them about the circumstances and just really bottom out what's going on that might be stopping them from going forward. So we call that a barrier. And one of the barriers that we come across quite often is debt. And debt has a big impact on somebody's life and their ability to focus on things like finding a job, sustaining a job, even just, starting education. So we link with Noah's Ark, we make a referral to Andrew's team, and they do amazing work with people to help them relieve their debts and subsequently relieve any mental health issues that they're facing as well. And then it helps us to work with them going forward to move them towards their life goals.
Wow, amazing. Can you tell us about how bankruptcy works?
If you come to an advice agency like ourselves and we determine that bankruptcy is the right thing for you, then it's very often a really unstressful process that's really calm and easy and gentle. But unfortunately, you can also be made bankrupt by someone that you owe money to. Because, for example, perhaps you owe a debt and that individual knows you own your own home. Well, if you're made bankrupt in that scenario, that's very stressful. That's a very different process because that person wants to seize your house to pay his debt. So that's where some of the confusion comes in, I think, sometimes, is there's two ways of being made bankrupt. The type of people that we work with typically do not own their own home, have very few assets and no ability to pay back their creditors. So, going through the process of bankruptcy or debt relief is often simple and not often, usually simple with us and most definitely stress-free. We do a lot of this thing called the debt relief order, which is often referred to as a mini bankruptcy because it's very similar in many ways to bankruptcy. But people also hear stories about the effect it has on people's credit ratings and their ability to get credit going forward, and they'll never get a mortgage. And some of that is true, but you have to remember that most of the people that we work with do not have a credit rating when they come here because they're already a mess financially. They've already defaulted on loan after loan or a credit card or mobile phones, and most of them don't aspire to own a property in the future. They just want their life back, and very often a formal insolvency arrangement like bankruptcy or a debt relief order is the key to that. It's the key to the future for them.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And even from my own perspective to hear, it sounds like there are different kind of levels of bankruptcy or different versions depending on who you are and how it affects your life. And I think maybe the preconceived idea was that just one idea, and actually it's not so much like that. So what are the positive parts of debt relief and bankruptcy, and how can this help people?
I think, the first thing I would say is you should always seek advice from an independent advice agency like ourselves. I mean, we are completely independent. We're lucky to have funding from the National Lottery Community Fund, which means when you come to me, my advice is always unbiased, and I'll tell you what I believe, and I will give you the advice that I think is appropriate for you. And in terms of the positives, what can I say? I mean, I have 1,000 positive stories, more than that probably, from people who came here very often in a very poor state emotionally, and left here quite often changed, completely different people. If you're in control of the process of either filing for bankruptcy or a debt relief, and you know it's the right thing for you, then that opportunity to begin again, the fresh start you get from that, it gives you hope for the future. It gives you instant relief from the stresses of being in debt. So you don't have bailiffs knocking on your door anymore. You don't have the debt letters. You don't have the phone calls, and you don't have to worry about that knock on the door that may be just an innocent knock, but the stress that causes people, the anxiety that people face. I have so many stories of people who don't open their curtains, have never left their house. Or another really horrible story was of someone who was leaving his house at 9 o'clock and not coming back until 5 o'clock just to avoid a bailiff who was attending his property. But he thought if he wasn't in, then he wouldn't have to deal with it. And he was leaving he wasn't working. He was on benefits, but he was leaving his house for 8 hours just to avoid bumping into a bailiff who was pursuing him for a debt. And it's, unless you've actually been in debt, and unless you've actually experienced some of the stresses that having problem debt causes you, then it's hard to truly understand what people are going through. And we see it every day. I mean, and one of the things I love doing is having people on the phone crying to me, because that to me is a good sign in a way, because I know that I'm going to make them feel better. Just a phone conversation. I know that when I put the phone down to them, they will feel better about their situation because they will have begun the process of taking back control. I will empower them with knowledge. I will empower them with their rights, and they'll feel better. I'll tell them that there's always a solution to a debt problem, always, provided you talk to the right person. And Noah's Ark, our town of Calderdale and the wider, is quite lucky to have Noah's Ark, and I say that because I do truly believe that we offer a unique service here, which I'm incredibly proud of, and I do love the work we do for people.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely amazing. And just for anyone watching that's not in Calderdale or Halifax area, we are running national debt help email addresses along the bottom. So if you would like to find out how to find that help in your area, just look at the bottom of the screen. But obviously, yeah, that's so great to hear, Andrew, that if people are suffering with debt problems or debt worries, as you said, you believe that there is a way out for everyone.
Absolutely, there's always a way out, and I find it, the thing I despair most about is people who tell us that they are feeling suicidal, that they've contemplated taking their own life, and I hope and pray that there is nobody out there who's taken their own life because of a debt problem, because all they had to do was ring my number and talk to me, and I would have told them what the way out of it was. Sometimes it's simple and straightforward, other times it's more complicated, but there is always a way, and we do try and go above and beyond really to help people, because we do value our service, and we do value the people that we support.
Yeah, really extremely important service, and obviously life-changing for so many people. which brings us very nicely to the interview that you did with someone that you've worked very closely with called Ben. So we're about to play a video Q&Aing with Ben about his experience through debt and how Andrew and Noah's Ark have helped him.